My name is Amara Elian, and I am 15 years old. The event of this story took place on March 12, 2019. That was the day I learned that being royal does not protect the heart. It was also the day my hidden life began to clash with the world I was born into. On that day, I was seen, reported, confronted, and quietly marked by people who believed my choice was a betrayal to tradition. I am a princess by birth, the only daughter of King Darion Elion and Queen Maelis of the High-Crowned Kingdom. My family is known for power, order, and ancient laws. From a young age, I was trained to walk straight, speak little, and never show weakness. Palace teachers educated me inside stone walls. I studied history, leadership, languages, and royal customs. I learned how to smile when afraid and how to bow even when my knees shook. Education for me was strict, planned, and controlled. There was no freedom to ask too much or believe differently. Our way of life inside the palace was quiet on the surface, but heavy underneath. Guards followed every step. Servants watched every movement. Advisors whispered to my parents behind closed doors. Meals were silent. Laughter was rare. Love existed, but it was hidden behind rules and duty. As a royal child, my life was already decided before I could understand choice. The persecution began softly, like a shadow. It started when a palace maid noticed my habits changing. She told the head servant, and he revealed it to the council guards. From there, everything spread. I was followed more closely. My room was searched. My books were taken away. My visits outside were canceled. People stopped meeting my eyes. Some servants avoided me out of fear. Others looked at me with anger. When the elders confronted me, they showed me ancient laws written to punish anyone who stepped outside royal belief. They reminded me that my position did not excuse disobedience. From that moment, emotional persecution became my daily reality. I was isolated. I was corrected harshly. I was blamed for bringing shame. They tried to break my will without touching my body. Sleep became difficult. Food lost taste. Silence became loud. The most painful persecution came from distance. My mother loved me but feared the council. My father ruled the kingdom but could not protect me from tradition. Advisors pressured them, warning of rebellion if my secret spread. I was treated like a threat instead of a child. Each day felt like standing alone in a storm while wearing a crown too heavy for my head. Yet inside all this pain, something grew. Courage did not arrive suddenly. It formed slowly through tears, fear, and quiet faith. I did not know then how far this path would go, but I knew my life would never return to what it was. This is how my story begins, not with celebration, but with persecution, endurance, and a secret that refused to die. From that moment onward, the palace stopped feeling like a home and became a watching place. I began to notice the change in small scenes that stayed with me. When I walked through the long halls, guards no longer walked beside me with ease. They followed behind, slow and silent. Their eyes stayed on my back. When I entered a room, conversations ended. Servants lowered their heads, not out of respect, but fear. I felt the weight of whispers even when no sound was made. One morning, I returned from lessons and found my room different. My books were missing. My writing papers were gone. The window was locked from the outside. A senior servant later showed me a list of items removed because they were considered dangerous. That was when I understood that my thoughts were now treated like weapons. The persecution grew stronger. I was no longer allowed to eat with my family every day. Meals were brought late, cold, and sometimes forgotten. When I asked for answers, the palace tutor explained to me that discipline was needed to correct my path. He revealed to me that the council believed hunger and silence would help me rethink my decision. At night, sleep escaped me. Guards stood outside my door, not for protection, but control. Their footsteps echoed like warnings. I felt watched even in my dreams. Fear became my closest companion. I learned how loneliness sounds when it sits beside you in the dark. My education changed too. Lessons became harsh. History was taught with anger. I was shown stories of royals who were erased for disobedience. The message was clear without words. I was reminded daily that crowns can be taken away and names can be forgotten. The most painful scene happened in the inner courtyard. I was made to stand alone while others passed by. No one was allowed to speak to me. Friends I once played with were ordered to ignore my presence. One girl looked at me with tears before turning away. That moment broke something inside me. Isolation became a punishment heavier than chains. I was blamed for causing unrest. Advisors told my parents that my existence was becoming a threat. My mother tried to comfort me in silence. My father avoided my eyes, carrying the burden of a ruler forced to choose tradition over his child. Their distance hurt more than anger. Yet, even under persecution, something refused to die in me. Every tear strengthened my resolve. Every lonely night taught me endurance. I learned that courage is not loud. It survives quietly while being crushed. This chapter of my life was filled with whispers, punishment, and fear. But it also marked the moment I realized that truth, once chosen, demands a price, and I was already paying it, slowly, painfully, and completely. Courage does not always rise when you want it to. Sometimes it is pushed out of you by pain when there is no more space left to hide. What I lived through next was not a single moment, but a long breaking point that shaped who I became. By this time, fear had settled into my bones, and the palace no longer tried to pretend I was safe. Days began to lose their names. I counted time by footsteps outside my door and by how often the guards changed. Each morning felt heavier than the last. When I woke up, I stayed still for a while, listening. Silence meant I was being watched. Noise meant something was about to happen. One afternoon, I was taken from my room without warning. 2 guards walked on each side of me, not touching, but close enough to control every step. They led me through a narrow hallway I had never used before. The walls were bare, no paintings, no windows. That walk felt longer than any journey I had ever taken. I was brought before the council chamber. The elders sat high above me. They did not shout, they did not rush. Their calm made everything worse. One of them explained to me that my actions had crossed a line that could not be ignored. Another revealed to me that the kingdom was restless because of my choice. They showed me records of past punishments meant to scare me into surrender. I stood there, alone, small in a room built to make people feel powerless. They told my parents to remain silent during that meeting. My mother looked at me with eyes full of pain, but said nothing. My father's face was stiff, carrying the weight of a crown that now felt like a weapon against his own child. That moment taught me that power does not always mean freedom. After that day, the persecution became more open. Servants were ordered to report everything I did. When I knelt to pray quietly, someone always appeared. When I wrote in secret, the pages disappeared. When I cried, no one came. I was denied visits, denied comfort, denied rest. It was not just punishment anymore. It was a test of how much pain I could endure before giving up. Food became a tool of control. Some days meals arrived once, other days not at all. When I grew weak, a palace healer checked my pulse but offered no kindness. He showed me how fragile my body had become, as if weakness was proof that my choice was wrong. My body suffered, but my heart suffered more. One evening, I was taken to the royal courtyard during a gathering. Nobles, guards, and servants were present. I was made to stand where everyone could see me. An elder explained my situation in careful words meant to shame me, without naming my offense directly. I was presented as an example of what happens when loyalty breaks. No one spoke to me. No one defended me. Faces looked away. Some showed anger. Some showed fear. That public exposure crushed me more than any locked door. I felt stripped of dignity, reduced to a warning sign. That night, I collapsed in my room. As I lay on the cold floor, breathing shallow, I faced a truth I could no longer avoid. If I continued in silence, the persecution would never end. They would keep breaking me piece by piece until nothing was left. My courage, which had been quiet and hidden, was now being demanded. The next scene stays clear in my memory. I was summoned again, this time alone. An elder sat across from me and laid out the final choice. He explained to me that if I denied my decision, the punishment would stop, my freedom would return, my position would be restored. If I refused, harsher measures would follow. He revealed to me that exile, imprisonment, or erasure from royal history were all possible outcomes. I felt fear rise like a storm. My hands trembled, my throat tightened. I thought of my childhood. I thought of laughter I barely remembered. I thought of my parents, torn between love and law. But then I thought of the truth that had kept me alive through the darkest nights. In that moment, courage did not feel strong. It felt painful. It felt lonely. Yet it stood firm inside me. I did not argue. I did not beg. I simply remained steady in my decision. The elder saw it in my eyes. He showed me disappointment mixed with anger. He warned me that what came next would not be gentle. And he was right. From that day, physical hardship joined emotional suffering. My room grew colder. My bed was removed. Light was limited. I was denied books, denied writing tools, denied time outdoors. I was left alone for long hours with nothing but my thoughts. Isolation is a slow form of pain. It eats at the mind. I found myself speaking aloud just to hear a voice. I counted cracks in the wall. I pressed my ear to the door, hoping for human sound. Sometimes guards mocked me. They told me through actions and looks that I had brought this on myself. Other times they ignored me completely, as if I no longer existed. My body weakened further. Standing became difficult. Walking felt like lifting stones. Yet even then I held on. One night my mother came to see me in secret. She did not say much. She touched my face gently. Her hands shook. She showed me tears she could not wipe away. That silent visit gave me strength. Love, even when quiet, can still heal. As the days passed, news spread beyond the palace. People whispered my name in fear and curiosity. Some called me brave. Others called me dangerous. The kingdom was divided, and I was the center of it all. That was when I understood the full weight of my courage. Courage had cost me comfort. It had cost me safety. It had cost me my place in the world I knew. But it had also given me something no punishment could take away: my identity. I was no longer just a princess under a crown. I was a person who had chosen truth over fear. By this time, I was no longer the same girl who once walked freely through palace halls. I remember the morning it began clearly. The guards opened my door earlier than usual. The light outside hurt my eyes because I had lived too long in dimness. I was weak, thin, and slow, but my mind was clear. I knew something final was about to happen. They led me through the palace again, but this time the walk felt different. People stood along the walls. Some looked at me with pity, some looked at me with anger. Others stared as if I was already gone. I noticed children among them, watching quietly. That moment hurt deeply because I wondered what they were being taught by my pain. I was taken to the great hall where royal decisions were made. The elders were present. My parents were there too. The silence was heavy. One elder explained that the council had reached a final decision. He revealed to me that my refusal to abandon my faith had left them with no choice. I was shown documents that removed my royal title. I was stripped of privilege, protection, and identity as a princess. That moment felt like losing my name. My father stood still, torn between duty and love. My mother's tears fell freely, no longer hidden. Guards stepped closer, ready to escort me away. I was not allowed to take anything with me, not my clothes, not my books, not even a memory to hold. The persecution reached its highest point when I was taken outside the palace walls. I was led through a small gate that had not been opened for years. Beyond it was a road I had never walked. The ground was rough, the air felt different. Freedom and fear stood side by side. I was alone, without guards, without servants, without a crown. Exile is a quiet kind of pain. I walked for hours until my legs shook. Hunger pressed hard. My body still carried the weakness from weeks of punishment. When night came, I had nowhere to sleep. I curled beside a tree and pulled my thin cloak around me. The cold bit into my skin. That night, I cried until my eyes burned. Days passed like this. Some villagers refused me shelter when they learned who I was and why I had been cast out. People whispered and pointed. Some threw stones near my feet to scare me away. Others warned me that helping me could bring trouble. Fear had spread faster than truth. There were moments I almost collapsed on the road. My feet blistered, my stomach cramped, my heart felt heavy with loss. I missed my parents. I missed safety. I missed the girl I used to be. Yet even in exile, persecution followed. One night, I was found by men loyal to the old laws. They surrounded me and accused me of bringing shame to the kingdom. They threatened me through gestures and cruel actions. They wanted me to deny my faith publicly so others would fear making the same choice. I stood shaking, expecting the worst. But something unexpected happened. A small group of believers came out from the shadows. They stood between me and my attackers. They showed me kindness without words. They led me away quietly and hid me until danger passed. That was the first time I realized I was not alone in the world. I stayed with them for many weeks. They lived simple lives, no crowns, no power, yet they carried peace I had never seen in the palace. They shared food even when it was little. They cared for my wounds. They prayed with me when fear returned. They reminded me that suffering for faith does not mean defeat. Even so, persecution did not stop. Authorities searched for me. I was moved often, sometimes at night. I learned to stay quiet, to listen for danger, to trust carefully. Fear still visited me, but it no longer ruled me. Slowly, strength returned to my body. Hope returned to my heart. I began helping others who were hurting. I listened to their stories. I saw scars deeper than mine. Mothers who lost children. Fathers beaten for belief. Young people imprisoned for choosing faith. Their pain taught me compassion. My suffering found purpose. One day, news reached me that the kingdom had changed. Unrest had grown. The council's harsh actions had opened many eyes. People began questioning laws built on fear. My name was spoken not as a warning, but as a sign of courage. I did not return to the palace. I understood then that my true crown was no longer gold. It was faith tested by fire. It was courage shaped by pain. It was love that refused to die under persecution. Today, I live quietly, helping the persecuted, comforting the broken, and telling my story so others know they are not alone. I lost a throne, but I gained a purpose. My journey proves that courage can change everything, even when it costs everything. To Christians across the world reading or watching this, I encourage you to pray earnestly for those who are persecuted for their faith. Many are suffering in silence, facing hunger, prison, rejection, and pain because they chose to follow Christ. Remember them. Pray for strength, protection, and hope for them. And for anyone who desires to turn away from sin and receive new life, you can pray this simple prayer from your heart. Lord Jesus, I come to you today. I know I am a sinner and I need your forgiveness. I believe you died for me and rose again. I turn away from my sins and give you my life. Please forgive me, change me, and make me yours. I choose to follow you from this day forward. Amen. May courage rise in you, may faith hold you, and may love guide your path, no matter the cost.